What's going on, my people? Welcome back to another episode of the Stop the Count podcast. Today, we'll be talking about some news and also about some of the action from this past weekend. First, we'll talk about the dazn boxing card. It was a good all around event. Felixcash did have to pull out of his fight this weekend, and his fight was replaced by Galalyafai versus Moises Calderos. Yafai won by knocking out his opponent, pressuring him greatly and stopping him in the fourth. Next, we'll talk about the prospects I mentioned in my last video, starting with Williams. He was able to knock out his opponent in the 8th round. It wasn't an easy fight, but he was able to pull it out. Then Campbellhatton was able to knock his opponent out in the 1st round with a body shot. Not too much more to say there. It was just a nicely, perfectly placed body shot by Campbellhatton. The main event was anthonyjoshua versus jermainefranklin. Joshua pretty much dominated the whole fight, leading to a unanimous decision victory for AJ. I do believe AJ left more to be desired. I didn't really see much of an improvement from his last fight. It did look as if he wanted to listen to Derek James, but just always went back to his old ways. And how do you guys think the performance was from AJ? And who do you think he should fight next? He did call out Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, obviously the big names, but I believe he should have at least one more tune-up fight before he even starts thinking about those guys again. Now, getting into the PFL fight card, I'll start off by talking about movlidkhaybulaev versus Ryoji Kudo. It was such a great fight for Movlid. He dominated the fight on the ground, getting the 3 points for the victory. It wasn't the most exciting fight, but it was still a great fight Movlid dominated in. There was all this talk about ring rust from not being able to fight for a year, but I don't believe there was any of that. Also, Brandon Loughnane was the only featherweight to get a stoppage as he stopped Marlonmoraes just by battering his legs and stopping him in the second. He was the only featherweight to get a stoppage, like I mentioned, so now he moves into first place of the standings with 6 points. Moraes is now on a 6-fight losing streak. He did try to start the second round off by attempting different things, really going straight for it, but he just really wasn't able to do anything with his legs, just getting beat. As for the light heavyweight division, Martin Hamlet and Josh Silveira were the only two that were able to finish their opponents, and they got them out of there, pretty quickly, getting themselves 6 points apiece, tied at first place in the standings. I do believe Hamlet is leading as he did finish his opponent quicker. Now, Robert Wilkinson's finishing streak in the PFL comes to an end as he was able to beat him by decision. Now, the top ranked boxing card. I'll start off by talking about a prospect I mentioned last video. That was Abdullahmason. Yes, the soon-to-be 19-year-old put in another great performance with a first-round knockout off an amazing counter right check hook. One of the best prospects right now. A fighter whose fight I will never miss. Following that was Emilianovargas. He also had another great performance as well, dominating his opponent for 2 rounds before stopping him in the second. A true great performance from Emiliano. Now, a prospect I didn't mention was Tigerjohnson. I have been impressed by what Tiger has been doing lately. Now, in this fight, it wasn't his best performance, but him being able to come back from being hurt as he was hit by a couple right hands by Overa, I just feel like if him coming back has shown way more than he has in his last couple fights. El Tigre was able to win by unanimous decision. Also, Jahitucker versus Nico Sekhnavili, a big, tough step up for Tucker. Jahai was getting hit with tough, hard shots. Jahai was holding his own, and he was also fighting a very dirty fight, in my opinion. Jahai was hitting a lot after the bell, even getting a point taken away from this. But all around, for an 8-rounder, this was an amazing fight. All-out war. All this leading to Tucker winning by unanimous decision. A great victory for Tucker. And I believe he will be moving up to 154, as this was a catchweight fight at 152 pounds. And in the broadcast, they were saying about how Jahai was talking to them in the fighter meetings about not being able to eat or drink water for a couple of days just to make his usual 147 pounds. Now, getting to the co-main event, Joetgonzalez versus Enrique Vivas was another great fight, non-stop action from the start, a slugfest on the inside between the two. There were more than 1,500 punches thrown in a 10-round fight. Joet was able to land the cleaner-looking, more effective shots on Vivas. The fight ended in a well-deserved unanimous decision victory for Joet. Fight of the night, no matter what sport, no matter what promotion. The main event was Robeisy-Ramirez versus Isaacdogboe. Another great fight, in my opinion. Some of the rounds were close, but Isaac really wasn't doing enough to win them. He might have been respecting Ramirez's power too much or really having trouble with his awkward style, but Dogboe was dropped in the 12th. This really led to Ramirez being able to win the close rounds and becoming the new WBO featherweight champion by unanimous decision. A great fight by Ramirez. Who do you guys think Ramirez should fight next? It's being said that he will probably fight the winner of the Venado versus Conlon fight. What do you guys think? As for some news, it was announced during the dazn event that Mauricio Lara and Lee Wood will be fighting on May 27th. Also announced was Johnny Beck, Alec Maduli will face Stephen Butler for Johnny Beck's middleweight title. The co-main event will be Jason Maloney versus Vincent Astrolabio for a vacant bantamweight championship belt. This belt was vacated by Naoya Inoue. These fights will go down May 13th in Stockton with many good prospects on the card. Now, for a couple fights in the UFC that haven't been announced, but it looks like they will be happening. One of those being Ilia Topuria versus Josh Emmett. What do you guys think about this? I think this is a great fight, a great test for Ilia Topuria. Also looks like if Steven Wonderboy Thompson will face Michael Pereira on June 10th. Now, as for the UFC 287 news, Chase Sherman will now face Carl Williams as Chris Barnett has had to pull out. Also reported that Michael Chiesa will now face Joaquin Buckley next. As I said in the last video, Li Jianliang has had to pull out as he suffered a back injury. For my first non-combat sports subject I will be talking about on this channel, I just want to see if any of you watched the Mexican Soccer League where the referee Fernando Hernandez during the America versus Leon match visibly knees a player in the nuts. Apart from being a horrible ref during the match, the idiot goes on and he does this bullshit. What do you guys think about this? What do you guys think should happen to him? I personally think he shouldn't be allowed to ref another game. Thank you guys for staying this long. Don't forget to subscribe and follow me on Twitter at StopTheCount10. See you later on this week to talk about the UFC 287 card as well as some boxing. See you then.